The rain hadn't stopped all night. It fell in long, cold ribbons, dragging the city into a blur of gray and shadow. Elias moved through the streets like a man sleepwalking, soaked to the bone, mind distant, heart a raw and aching wound. Every breath hurt. Every breath carried her name. It had been 5 days since Leah walked out of his life. 5 days since the slam of the door became the final punctuation on a love he once believed eternal. Her scent still lingered in the threads of his clothes, in the corners of their apartment, in the empty coffee mug she never finished. He had tried to stay, tried to hold on, but every inch of that space was her. The blanket they used to curl under, the Polaroid taped to the fridge with his crooked smile and her kiss on his cheek, the plants she watered every Sunday. Now they drooped, forgotten. Just like him, he couldn't breathe in that tomb they once called home. So he left, with no plan, no umbrella, just a small duffel, a coat, and the storm above his head. It was sometime after midnight when he found himself in front of the lakeside boarding house. He hadn't meant to come here. He didn't even know where here was. It felt as though something or someone had led him, step by wet step, to this forgotten place on the edge of the city. The building loomed tall and silent, windows dark like empty eye sockets. Ivy strangled the walls. The gate creaked as he pushed it open. A single dim light above the entrance flickered and then stayed on, as if noticing him. The landlord was an old woman, her eyes pale with cataracts, her fingers long and dry. She looked at him for a long time, as if she knew, as if she had seen his kind before. "You need rest," she said softly. "Room 204 is open." No questions, no forms, just a brass key and a whisper. "If she knocks, don't open. And don't call her by name." Elias barely registered the words. He nodded, took the key, and climbed the winding stairs in silence. Room 204 was bare. A thin mattress, a wooden desk, a cracked mirror above a crooked dresser. The wallpaper peeled like shedding skin. But it was quiet, and most of all, it was empty of memories. He dropped his bag, pulled off his soaked coat, lay down, fully clothed. The rain whispered against the glass like a lullaby for the broken-hearted, and then sleep. In the dream, he saw her, Leah, or was it? She stood at the foot of the bed, her outline soft in the moonlight, her hair wet, her eyes dark. He sat up, heart surging with hope. "Leah!" he called, voice shaking. She didn't answer. She only watched him, and something was wrong. Her face flickered. Her lips, once pink and full, were pale and cracked. Her hands dripped water onto the floor, but there was no sound, no warmth. He reached out, but when she stepped closer, it was not Leah, it was someone else. A girl with long black hair clinging to her face like seaweed. A white dress soaked and clinging to a frail, shivering frame. Her mouth curved, not quite a smile, more like the memory of one. And her eyes were bottomless grief. Elias jolted awake. The room was dark and cold. The mirror was fogged over, though he hadn't touched it, and carved in the condensation, in slow, deliberate strokes, was a single word: stay. Elias spent the next day in a haze, drifting between half-sleep and silence. The rain hadn't stopped. It turned the city outside into a watercolor painting, slowly washing itself away. He didn't leave the room, not because he was afraid, not yet, but because there was a strange kind of peace in that quiet decay. Room 204 felt untouched by time, unbothered by the chaos of the world. For someone like him, who had just watched his world collapse, that stillness was almost merciful. But his thoughts betrayed him. Every time he closed his eyes, Leah's face returned, not in warmth, but as a wound. Her voice, now just an echo in his skull, repeated the words she'd said before leaving. "You love too deeply. It's suffocating." He had tried to give her everything, and she had left anyway. By dusk, he lit the small lamp by the bed. The light flickered like it didn't want to stay on. He stared at the mirror above the dresser, a long horizontal thing, old and silvered at the edges. It was cracked slightly in one corner like a web of time frozen mid-fracture. And then something moved. Just for a second. Elias froze. He hadn't moved. Nothing in the room had. But the mirror had shimmered, like a ripple on still water. He stood, cautious, and stepped closer. The surface returned to normal. Only his reflection stared back, pale, tired, haunted. He laughed under his breath. "You're losing it, man." And then a voice replied, software female, behind him. "Not losing, only beginning." Elias spun around. No one. The room was empty. His heart thudded, slow but loud. He turned back to the mirror. This time, he wasn't alone. Behind his reflection, in the mirror's frame, just behind his left shoulder, stood a girl. Her figure was faint, almost transparent. Her dress was white, her hair long and black, veiled part of her face. But her eyes, they pierced through the glass. They didn't blink. They didn't look surprised. They looked familiar. He turned again. Nothing. He whispered, voice trembling, "Leah." But something inside him already knew. This wasn't Leah. And the mirror answered. A single breath of fog upon the surface. Then a word, written by an unseen finger. "Mira." Elias didn't sleep that night. He tried. He lay in bed with the blanket pulled to his chest, staring at the ceiling, but his mind kept circling back to the mirror, to the girl, to the name written in fog. Mira. The name pulsed in his thoughts like a half-remembered dream. And when his eyes did close, it was her face that hovered in the darkness. Not Leah's, Mira's. She hadn't spoken again, but she didn't need to. There was something in her presence. A pull, not terrifying, not entirely, just inevitable. Like standing at the edge of a great depth and feeling the sea call your name. By morning, Elias was pale and hollow-eyed. The landlord hadn't come by. No sounds echoed through the hall. It was as if he were the only soul in the whole building. He showered, dressed slowly, then opened his duffel bag, hoping to find a book or something to distract him. Instead, his fingers brushed against Leah's scarf. His chest tightened. He pulled it out. It was soft, pale blue, still carrying a faint trace of her perfume. For a moment, he buried his face in it, breathing deeply. And then, he saw Mira in the mirror, watching. He didn't scream. She wasn't horrifying, not in the way you'd expect a ghost to be. She was sad, beautiful, tragic, the way her long hair clung to her body, damp and weightless, the way her eyes glistened like they held centuries of tears. But there was something else now. Hunger. Not for food. For him. He stood frozen, scarf still in his hand. The mirror no longer reflected him, only her. standing in the same room, in the same pose he had been in, but with her own pain etched into the shape of his. "Mira," he whispered. "Who are you?" The mirror didn't fog this time. Instead, she raised her hand, slow and deliberate, and pressed it against the inside of the glass. Elias stepped forward, breath shallow. He lifted his hand to mirror hers, and for one impossible moment, he felt her, cold as river water, soft as a sigh, pressing against his palm from the other side of the mirror. His heart beat so loudly he was sure it would break the silence. His skin prickled, not in fear, but in longing. His voice cracked. Are you the reason I came here?" The mirror flickered. Mira blinked once. Then she smiled, sad, almost loving, and vanished. Elias stumbled back, chest heaving. He looked around the room, empty, but inside, something had shifted. The scarf fell to the floor, forgotten. That night, he didn't dream of Leah. He dreamed of white hands reaching through mirrors. He dreamed of a body curling beside his in bed, unseen but cold, and lips brushing his ear with a voice that said over and over, "You came for me. You belong to me." Tiny droplets on the wooden floor, leading from the mirror to the edge of his bed. Elias noticed them just after dusk, when the light was low and shadows stretched long across the walls. He crouched down, touched one. Cold, not quite water, thick like dew pulled from a forgotten grave. Then the mirror fogged again. He didn't see Mira at first, only his own reflection blurred and broken. Then behind him, her silhouette. As if she'd never left, as if she was always just waiting, just on the other side. He didn't speak, neither did she, but he could feel her, more than he had before. The room was colder, heavy with moisture and a scent like drowned roses. His breath came slower, each one dragging through air, thick as fog. He turned away from the mirror and lay down on the bed, heart pounding. He didn't know why, only that part of him wanted her there, to be held, to be touched, to be taken away from the world that had left him hollow. That night he woke to something brushing across his skin. It was faint, gentle, like fingertips across his ribs, then his chest, then his throat. He opened his eyes. No one. But the room was colder than ice, and on the mirror's surface, written in long, winding strokes, was a new word. Mine. Over the next few days, Elias didn't leave the room, didn't answer knocks, didn't eat. He wrote her name over and over in the margins of an old notebook. Mira, Mira, Mira. Sometimes he would hear singing, soft from the corner, like a lullaby sung underwater. Other times the bed would dip beside him as if a weight had settled there, as if she lay curled beside him, her arms around his body, her breath cold against his neck. He should have been terrified, but Elias welcomed it. In the absence of Leah, in the ruins of his grief, Mira filled the void. She didn't leave him. She watched him. She touched him when he cried. Sometimes he whispered apologies, not sure if they were for Leah or Mira. Then one night the whispers turned to kisses. He dreamed, or thought he dreamed, of Mira climbing into the bed with him. Her body was wet and cold, but her touch was fire. Her lips pressed against his, hungry and searching. Her voice in his ear, soft like silk. You feel again because of me. His arms wrapped around the empty air, and he whispered her name like a prayer, over and over, until the darkness swallowed the world. When he woke, he wasn't sure what was real anymore. But he wasn't alone. There were fingerprints on his throat, software possessive, and a single black hair on the pillow beside him, long, wet, and cold as the grave. Then it started with a whisper. He was shaving, bent over the cracked sink, the mirror above it smeared with steam. His hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from anticipation. He felt her before he heard her. "You think of me when you touch yourself." The razor clattered into the basin. Elias gripped the edges of the sink, panting. The voice hadn't come from outside. It had come from inside him, curling in his chest like smoke. He looked up. The steam on the mirror cleared slowly, revealing her face behind his own. Her mouth was inches from his ear, her eyes half-lidded, lips parted in a breathless smile. And though he knew she wasn't really there, he wanted her to be, more than anything. At night, Mira returned, not in dreams anymore. He could feel her weight now, a cold presence beneath the blanket, her skin like marble, but her touch unbearable in its pleasure. She didn't speak often, but when she did, it was always in a voice so soft it made his bones ache. "Do you want me, Elias? Say my name. Let me feel you." He obeyed. And when he said her name, it burned in his throat and bloomed in his body like fever, desire, pure and impossible. She fed on it. He could feel it. Every gasp, every tremble beneath her invisible hand made her presence stronger, almost physical. One night she kissed him with a mouth he couldn't see, and he arched into emptiness, groaning like a man possessed. In the morning, his lips were bruised, and he didn't care. But Mira wasn't kind, not always. Sometimes, when he pulled away, even slightly, the mirror would crackle like ice, and her voice would become cruel. You looked at her photo again. You whispered her name in your sleep. "You're mine, Elias, do you understand?" He tried to leave the room once, just once. The door wouldn't open, not because it was locked, but because he didn't want to. His hand touched the knob. His breath caught. His entire body shook with an unfamiliar dread, like he would unravel the moment he stepped outside. The world beyond this room was colorless, dead, meaningless. Mira was here. And now Elias no longer knew if he loved her, or if she was simply feeding on what was left of him. That night he begged her not to stop, but to appear, to let him see her fully, to feel her not like mist and shadow, but as a woman. "I need you," he gasped into the darkness, hands clutching the cold sheets. "Please don't hide anymore. Take me, all of me." The air thickened, the room pulsed, and Mira answered. A silhouette emerged from the mirror, not as a ghost this time, but as flesh soaked in grief, dripping water and longing. Her eyes were the ocean before a storm, her mouth the edge of something holy and damned. She climbed onto the bed, and for the first time, Elias felt what it meant to be truly possessed. Day and night had blended into one long silver dusk. He didn't leave, didn't want to. The world beyond the motel was brittle, unreal. But here she was real. Every night, Mira came to him. At first, she had only touched him in the dark, caresses like cold velvet, lips that tasted like memory and sea salt. But now she was whole. Her body bore the coolness of the dead, but moved with hunger, grace, and pain. And Elias. Elias couldn't say no. He didn't want to. He craved her, not just her body, though that too with an ache that curled inside his chest, like a dying star. But her presence, her sadness, her silence, her need. There were moments when she would weep while straddling him, her long hair clinging to his skin, her sobs silent against his shoulder. One night, breathless and broken, Elias asked, "Why do you cry?" She touched his cheek and for the first time spoke clearly, "Because you love like I did, and it ruined you." The next day, Elias found a drawer in the room that hadn't opened before. Inside was an old photograph, water-damaged and curling with age. A girl, maybe 20, sitting at the edge of a dock. Long hair, sad smile. Behind her, a man in shadow, hand on her shoulder, but face turned away, faded ink on the back. For Mira. Always yours, J. His breath hitched. She, too, had been left behind. That night, she came earlier than usual. He didn't speak. Neither did she. They clung to each other like shipwrecked bodies in a cold sea. And afterwards, when the room had stilled, Mira whispered in his ear, "He promised me forever, then vanished, left me here where time doesn't move, where I rot slowly in my love." Elias felt tears rise, unbidden, not just for her, for himself, for Leah, for everything he gave, and was denied. Their hands intertwined, man and ghost, trembling. "I know what that feels like," he said. "I begged her to stay. I would have died for her." "I did," Mira whispered. And in that moment, Elias no longer cared that her skin was cold or that her heart no longer beat, because he had never felt more alive. From that night on, their love changed. No longer just lust or grief, but something twisted and terrible. A communion of ruin. Each time they touched, it was not just flesh, but memory, ache, abandonment. They tore each other open and crawled inside the wounds, kissing scars that would never close. Mira moaned his name like a curse. Elias held her as if letting go would break the world. And in the dim, wet room, with the mirror forever watching, they became something no longer quite human, but finally no longer alone. Then his body gradually to change. It began with the eyes, bloodshot, sunken, staring too long into things that weren't there. Came the trembling hands, fingers twitching like marionette strings pulled by invisible need. His bones ached as if hollowed out. He no longer ate, no longer drank, yet somehow he craved only her. Each night she came. Each morning he woke weaker, but more in love than the night before. Elias no longer recognized himself in the mirror. His cheeks were drawn, his lips cracked, but Mira grew stronger. Her skin, once pale and misty, now glowed faintly with color. Her voice, once hollow, now hummed like a distant lullaby. She even laughed sometimes. Short, strange bursts of sound like wind through shattered glass. She was becoming more real because of him. And Elias didn't care. If anything, he offered more. "Take what you need," he whispered against her throat. "Take it all, just don't leave me." Her answer was always the same. "I won't leave. I feed." One morning he collapsed while trying to stand. His knees buckled, vision blurred, heart thudded like a bird in a cage. He lay on the cold floor for hours, too weak to crawl back into bed, staring at the ceiling while Mira sat silently beside him, eyes glinting, smile unreadable. She brushed his hair from his forehead. "You burn so beautifully, Elias. I feel lighter," he murmured. "That's because parts of you are already mine." He didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. That night, their lovemaking was frantic, no longer pleasure, but ritual. She clawed his back until blood bloomed like petals. He moaned her name as if it were a psalm, and when he came undone beneath her, Mira leaned in and whispered, "You're fading, and I'm becoming." He wept, but not from sorrow, from joy, to vanish into her, to be the warmth that filled her hollow, was the only thing he wanted. Outside the motel, the world went on. Inside room 204, a man named Elias disappeared day by day, but no one noticed. No one knocked. And when he looked in the mirror now, he didn't see himself anymore. He saw Mira, radiant, smiling, whole. But as days blurred into endless dusk, something began to gnaw at the edges of his surrender. Mira was changing too quickly. Her body no longer glowed faintly. Now she radiated heat. Her eyes, once sorrowful, now flickered with something darker. Triumph. And then there were the dreams, not of Mira, but of others. Men with sunken faces and hollow voices, reaching for him from within the walls. Their mouths opened, but only blood poured out. Elias woke each time with Mira wrapped around him, whispering comfort, her lips brushing his ear. "You're not like them. You're the one." He wanted to believe her. He did. But deep inside, something cracked. A whisper, a wound, a question. Who were they? And why did their faces feel so familiar? He would lie in bed, eyes open, body trembling, and hear them. Not Mira's voice, but others. Male, hoarse, desperate. Don't trust her. She only wants to live. She'll wear your face next. Run! He told Mira. She only smiled, stroking his sunken cheek. "They're jealous," she whispered. "They couldn't love like you do." One evening, during a flicker of lucidity, Elias dragged himself to the basement. The motel manager had always told guests it was off limits. "Water damage," he said. But that night something pulled Elias there. A cold hand from the dark, guiding his weak legs down the rotting stairs. The light was dim, the air still, but along the far wall, buried beneath old blankets and black mold, Elias found it, a box of forgotten things, photographs, journals, wallets, names not his, faces not his, men, so many men. One journal lay open, soaked in mildew. "Her name is Mira. God help me, I love her, even as she takes from me, even as I fade. But she promised I'd be with her forever." The writing ends mid-sentence, as if the hand that wrote it simply stopped existing. Elias stumbled back upstairs, the journal still clutched to his chest. His breathing was shallow, his skin cold. But Mira was waiting, glowing like candlelight on a grave. "You went looking, didn't you?" she said. He didn't answer. He only stared. And in her eyes, for the first time, he saw it. Not cruelty, not malice, but guilt and hunger. "I needed to survive," she whispered. "They loved me, but not enough. You do. That's why it's different now." Elias sank to the floor. His voice was a rasp. "Will I die?" Mira knelt before him. Her hands cupped his face with something like reverence. "No," she said softly. "You'll become part of me." And as her lips met his, Elias felt it. The souls beneath the bed, the shadows in the mirror, the weeping men in the walls. They weren't gone. They were inside her. And soon, so would he. Elias ran. For the first time since he'd arrived at the motel, he tore himself from Mira's arms before sunrise and stumbled out into the hallway. His breath caught in his chest. His vision swam, but he ran. Down the stairs, past the lobby, out into the cold dawn. He didn't stop until he reached the roadside, where headlights shimmered in the distance like salvation. He waved, screamed, cried, but no car ever came. Only silence. And behind him, the motel sat like a waiting mouth, its sign flickering weakly. Vacancy. Back in room 204, the air had changed. It was colder now, emptier. Mira sat alone on the bed, her body dimmer, her voice a mere breath. "He left me too." She looked at the cracked mirror. A single tear slid down her cheek, but it was black, thick like ink. "I thought he was different." Elias didn't make it far. His legs gave out beneath a dead tree a mile down the road. He lay there for hours, body trembling, heart thudding weakly, the journal of the past lover still clutched in his hand. "Her name is Mira." The words burned. The shadows whispered, "You already belong to her." And deep down, Elias knew. He hadn't run because he didn't love her. He'd run because he loved her too much, and it terrified him. That night he returned, not because she called him, but because he couldn't stay away. She was waiting in the room, standing by the window like a bride. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw him, not with hunger this time, but with something gentler. Gratitude. Elias. He didn't speak. He just walked forward, collapsed to his knees, and buried his face into her gown of shadows. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I don't care what you are. I just want to stop being me." She leaned down and kissed his forehead. "You won't be." Then she took him. Kiss him, not with teeth, not with claws. Yet a kiss so deep it swallowed his breath, his fear, his very soul. And as their bodies fused in that final embrace, Elias felt the last of himself unravel, joyfully, willingly, until nothing remained but warmth, and her, and forever. They say room 204 is always empty, and yet the air inside smells faintly of old perfume. And if you listen closely through the walls at night, you might hear two lovers whispering, "Don't leave me. Never